Here with reaction, author of The Giant Awakes, and that's retired Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North is with us. So he warns this is the worst crisis since the Cuban Missile Crisis, warns of nuclear Armageddon, his words, not mine, and his response is to go to the beach and go on vacation and take off instead of headed to the Situation Room. Why do I have a problem with that, Colonel?
Well, we all ought to have a problem with it. I mean, there's no doubt that this president is significantly compromised, both mentally and perhaps even ethically, because of what his son may have done or didn't do with the communist Chinese. And so physically, mentally, and morally, he's a very compromised commander-in-chief. Now, here's what's happening behind the scenes. First of all, it's stunning to me that a strategic target like the Kerch Bridge could be so poorly defended or protected by the Russians. Putin's response, he called it a bridge attack, a terrorism event. Well, this morning, that 80-plus ballistic missiles aimed at civilian targets all across the country. It was time to catch people going to work in the morning. Notably, Putin was either in or had just come from an emergency meeting with his version of the National Security Council. Now, some in the U.S. and NATO intelligence services felt that Putin might have called his national security advisors into session to get their concurrence for using the Kerch Bridge attack as a provocation for using attack nuke on Kyiv. Now, Biden's response to condemn the Russian attack on Ukrainian civilians in the strongest possible terms. He says he's talked to Zelensky and promised, and I'm quoting now, "We are with you no matter how long it takes and whatever you need." So here's what Zelensky needs, and he's not getting from the Americans. They need the ability to knock down Russian rockets and missiles, even though the number that's available to Putin right now is considerably reduced because of all that he's been doing against civilians ever since the 24th of February. People are talking about the U.S. providing anti-missile defenses, like the U.S. Patriot anti-missile defense system or the Israeli Iron Dome defenses. Now, you remember, U.S. deployed Patriot batteries with U.S. troops to Saudi Arabia when their cities and refineries were under attack from Iranian-supported rebels in Yemen. Not likely going to happen here. Biden is going to stick with his no boots on the ground, no U.S. boots on the ground, and training on Patriot is far more complicated than the man-pad training that has worked so well in the earlier phases of this war. And the Israeli Iron Dome would be near perfect for protecting against Russian missiles, but the Israelis and the Russians are cooperating with each other to rein in Hezbollah and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps being delivering weapons against Israel through Iraq and Syria.
Okay, so he clearly is not doing as well as he thought he would do. I think he thought that this would be a cakewalk. He's been embarrassed on the world stage. He now is targeting civilians, which, by the way, he'd been doing from early on. Clearly, he's become isolated and paranoid. People around him seem to be disappearing on a daily basis. If he's willing to target civilians the way he is in such a brutal fashion, is it likely to assume that he'd be capable of using a tactical nuclear weapon, as he says he might?
Sean, I don't believe he can. Okay, first of all, we know a lot about their nuclear program because in 1991, we had a lot of our scientists helping the UN redistribute the weapons and get them out of places like Ukraine. Second, he's got a very serious problem of keeping in his own tent the people whose sons are now fighting this war. And we're drawing down on our own war stocks to meet the needs of what the Ukrainians want. The bottom line of it is, I don't think that Putin can be sure of being able to convince somebody downrange to push the button. We know that their PAL codes, their permission of action links, are very much like ours because all the spies that they had working in our nuclear program since World War II. The bottom line of it is, I don't think, and I think he knows, he cannot convince people to push the button, turn the key, or enter the codes. He knows that because he's had so many defectors from his own cause. Over 1 million Russians have fled Russia because of what they're doing in Ukraine. Putin's in trouble. Putin may not survive the experience. Putin may get taken out by his best friends.
I said from the beginning, I'm hoping that there's some Russian high-ranking people around him that might know what the right thing to do is and take care of it for the world. I believe he's capable of it. Let's see. I pray I'm wrong. Colonel, safe home. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.